In southeastern Massachusetts, there is a stretch of land where, for centuries, people have reported things they could not explain. Strange lights moving through the trees, creatures standing at the edge of swamps, disappearances without evidence, whispers of rituals in abandoned woods, and in the skies above it all, objects that moved in ways no aircraft should. It covers roughly 200 square miles, and over time it has become known as the Bridgewater Triangle, not because of its shape, but because of what seems to happen inside it. The Bridgewater Triangle is not an official location. It is a term used to describe an area between several towns in Massachusetts: Abington, Rehoboth, Freetown, and Bridgewater itself. At the center of many of these stories lies Hockomock Swamp, a wetland of nearly 17,000 acres, dense, flooded, difficult to navigate. Its name comes from the Algonquian word Hockomock, often translated as the place where spirits dwell. Long before modern paranormal investigators gave the region its reputation, indigenous communities had already treated the swamp with caution. They believed it was a place where boundaries between man, nature, and something else were less stable. And for centuries, stories would continue to support that fear. The earliest colonial settlers spoke of strange events here: unnatural sounds, shadow-like figures moving in the tree line, livestock found mutilated. In some accounts, entire groups refused to pass through the swamp after dark. At first, these were dismissed as superstition, but over time, the stories became harder to ignore, because they kept repeating, and they kept evolving. Different witnesses, different generations, same region, same fear. One of the most persistent elements of the Bridgewater Triangle is the creature sightings. Not ghosts, not spirits, physical beings, large, animal-like, watching. In 1978, reports emerged of a giant bird-like creature seen near the triangle. Witnesses described wings spanning several feet, dark feathers, red glowing eyes. Some compared it to the Mothman of West Virginia. Others called it something older, something local. Then there were the ape-like sightings, tall humanoid figures covered in dark hair, moving unnaturally fast through the woods, standing silently before disappearing. Bigfoot-like but different, more aggressive, more territorial. And then the serpent stories. Large, snake-like creatures reportedly seen in swamp waters, some stretching beyond anything native to the region. None of these creatures were ever captured, but the sightings never stopped. Then came the UFO reports. This is where the triangle began attracting national attention. In the late 1960s and throughout the 1970s, multiple witnesses reported lights moving over the swamp, bright, silent, sometimes hovering, sometimes accelerating instantly. Police officers were among the witnesses, so were firefighters and ordinary residents. One report described 5 glowing orbs moving in formation before vanishing into cloud cover. Another described a metallic object suspended over the swamp before descending, then disappearing. No sound, no wreckage, no explanation. The pattern became so common that investigators began comparing the area to other global UFO hotspots. And some believed the swamp itself was the center, not just a random location, but a point of interest, a place being watched or used. By the 1980s, a darker layer began to emerge. Rumors of cult activity. Animal remains began appearing deeper in wooded areas, symbols carved into trees, burn circles, candles, small altars. Local police investigated several sites. Most were abandoned before officers arrived. No arrests, no confirmed organization. But enough evidence existed to suggest ritual gatherings had taken place. Some claimed satanic groups were using the isolation of Hockomock Swamp. Others believed it was unrelated, small occult circles, experimenting in secrecy. And then there were stranger claims. Witnesses who said they saw hooded figures carrying torches through the swamp at night, standing in circles, chanting, then vanishing into the trees. No footage, no proof, but the stories persisted, and the fear deepened. Because now the triangle wasn't just about creatures or lights, it was about people, and what they might be doing in secret. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the Bridgewater Triangle is the missing persons cases. Some disappearances were ordinary: hikers, runaways, people lost in difficult terrain. But others remain deeply unsettling. In several cases, people vanished in areas that had already been searched. No footprints, no belongings, no signs of struggle. One hunter reportedly entered a section of swamp he knew well. He never returned. Search teams found his rifle, standing upright against a tree, as if placed there, but no trace of him. There were no signs of wildlife attack, no drag marks, no body, nothing. In another case, a teenager disappeared while walking near the edge of the swamp. Witnesses claimed they saw strange lights that same night. The case remains unsolved. And, like many disappearances in wilderness environments, the land itself became the perfect hiding place. Swamp water destroys evidence. Mud erases tracks. Dense brush limits visibility. The terrain keeps its secrets. No story of the Bridgewater Triangle is complete without the Pukwudgies. Pukwudgie, small humanoid beings from Wampanoag legend, described as child-sized, gray-skinned, with large ears and glowing eyes. At first, they were said to be mischievous, but over time, dangerous. According to folklore, Pukwudgies could lure humans into the woods, mislead them, attack them, or drive them mad. Some modern witnesses claim to have seen them, watching from behind trees, standing at the edge of roads, disappearing instantly. Skeptics dismiss this as folklore bleeding into modern imagination, but believers argue the consistency is too strong, that something is there, and it has been there for a very long time. The Triangle is not just creatures and UFOs. There are ghost stories, phantom screams, apparitions, disembodied footsteps. Some visitors report sudden feelings of dread. Others say electronics fail, batteries die, GPS systems stop working. Several paranormal investigators have documented temperature drops and unexplained sounds, though critics argue environmental factors explain much of it. Still, what makes the Bridgewater Triangle unique is not one phenomenon. It is the overlap. UFOs, creatures, disappearances, folklore, cult activity, hauntings. Very few places report all of them, in the same space, for this long. There are logical reasons for much of this. Hockomock Swamp is large and disorienting. Fog distorts vision. Wildlife creates unusual sounds. Isolation affects perception. Many creature sightings could be misidentified animals. UFOs may be aircraft, satellites, or atmospheric effects. Cult evidence may simply be isolated ritual groups. Disappearances happen in wilderness everywhere, and once a place gains a reputation, every unexplained event strengthens the myth. That is how legends survive, not by proof, but by repetition. What makes this place powerful is not certainty, it is accumulation. One story can be dismissed, 10 stories become interesting, hundreds across centuries become difficult to ignore. This region has become a container for human fear, a landscape where folklore, history, and unexplained events overlap. Whether supernatural or not, something about this place changes people. Not because it proves anything, but because it forces questions. What did they see? What happened in those woods? Why do the same stories keep returning? The Bridgewater Triangle remains one of America's strangest mystery zones, not because of one creature, not because of one disappearance, but because of everything combined. Its forests still stand, its swamp still moves quietly in the dark, and even now, locals avoid certain paths after sunset, not because they know what is there, but because they don't. And in places like this, Sometimes the unknown is far more frightening than the answer, because whatever the Bridgewater Triangle truly is, it has never stopped watching.